Obviously I'm not going to read all of the poems, but I chose a few poems that I thought, might give you an idea about, like, a full picture of about the book and also the process of writing the poems. The first one is called Mashad, which is my hometown, and it literally means the place of martyrdom. And the title, it was entitled after the martyrdom of the 8th Shiite Imam so many years ago, before it was called Tus, where Persian language as part of the Grand Khorasan was developed. So it's been always very strange to be part of that geography, in a sense, and culture. Living, two completely different extremes, from secularism, Persian language, and passion for Persian poetry, and the pre-Islamic past, to the core, a city as the core of Shiite belief and pilgrimage, a city to pilgrimage. So it's a very short poem, and I wrote this about 2-3 years through the exile when I was here. I read it in Persian, Jennifer reads it in English. من از شهر کافه های گردن زده می آیم، از شهر خانه های مشبک، از شهر میدان اعدام قدیم و میدان شهدای جدید، از تلاقیگاه دود سیگار و بال فرشتگان. بر سربازخانه نام قرارگاه گذاشته بودند و نه اسمی بر بیقراری سربازهای دیدبان آلوده به دوتار موی زن. دوتار. من از شهر آوازخوان‌های گردنکش می آیم، از محل شهادت خودم، مشهد.
I come from a town of beheaded closed cafes, from a town of latticed houses, from a town whose old execution square is now called Martyr Square, from the meeting place of cigarette smoke and angels' wings. They've named the barracks the resting place, which makes no reference to the restlessness of the centuries, polluted by 2 strands of a woman's hair. 2 strands! I come from the town of stubborn singers, from the place of my own martyrdom, Mashad.
The second poem I wanted to read is در را که شکستند, which is the title of the book when they broke down the door. And I didn't write whom I dedicated this poem to. It is dedicated because I didn't want to make a political statement, you see. I mean, it's such a fine line when you write about things that really shake you and move you. Since I was a child, I was, always hearing about this, first of all, people who were killed in the war, and then people who were killed in the mass executions in 1980s in Iran. And then it happened during my own time, and there are so many lovers who lost their beloveds during this process. So it's not only to one specific event, but it is dedicated to all those who lost their beloved, basically. And I hope it reaches them at some point, So, I'm going to read it now. در را که شکستند در آغوش تو بودم. در را که شکستند در آغوش تو بودم، لالایی سرمازده در گوش تو بودم. در را که شکستند مرا سخت فشردی، در آن شب وحشت زده تنپوش تو بودم. زیر لگد و فحش تو عریان و من عریان، خونابه چکان تن بیهوش تو بودم. افتادی و آرام نگاه تو فرو ریخت، انگار که 100 سال فراموش تو بودم. وقتی که تو را بردند یک نغمه غمگین، دریای پریهای خاموش تو بودم. یک بغض ترک خورده آرام میان پرونده تا خورده و مخدوش تو بودم. هرچند تو را دار کشیدند عزیزم، در حافظه عکس هماغوش تو بودم.
When they broke down the door, I was in your arms, like a freezing cold lullaby curled in your ear. When they broke down the door, you gripped me tightly. I was the clothes on your body on that night filled with fear. Beneath their kicks and their curses, you were naked and I was naked. I was your body, dripping blood, unconscious, my dear. You fell and your calm gaze faltered and failed, as though I was something you'd forgotten year after year. When they took you, I was a grief-stricken cry, a silent sea where your fabulous creatures appear. I was a sadness cracked open, calm in the midst of your file that was folded now, smudged and unclear. And though they have hanged you in memory's image, I see myself there in your arms, my dear.
ما زنده بودیم اما در لاک خود مرده بودیم. ما زنده بودیم اما در لاک خود مرده بودیم. ما حرفهای مگو را با بغضمان خورده بودیم. ما زنده بودیم اما تنها و دلتنگ و خاموش، از داغ‌هایی که دیدیم ویران و سرخورده بودیم. ما شانه بودیم و آغوش، ما اشک بودیم و فریاد، تنها در این شهر غربت بر زخم خود گرده بودیم. حتی اگر ترس و وحشت در جانمان لانه می کرد، اما به ویرانی خیش ایمان نیاورده بودیم. ما ایستادیم و مردیم تا زندگی جان بگیرد. در گور تنهایی خیش ما شرط را برده بودیم.
The wager. We were alive, but within ourselves we had died. We'd choked down the outlawed words we were forced to hide. We were alive, but silent, alone and homesick, disheartened by the scars we'd endured side by side. We were shoulders, embraces, tears and our cries, alone, in a strange town, suffering the wounds that we bore inside. And though horror and fear made their nest in our souls, we would not believe in our loss. Defeat was denied. We stood and we died so that life would take hold, making the wager in this solitary grave where we've died.
The poem that I'm going to read is the refugee, the Panahande, and then we will hear what Navid says. The reason I chose this poem is one of the poems that is very close to my heart, and I chose it tonight because it reflects my own experience and so many other people who went through the same path and are going through the same path. So it's dedicated to all those people who are struggling with the displacement. سقوط ارزش آدم، سقوط آینده، سقوط کشتی یک کودک پناهنده، سقوط دست عروسک به عمق اقیانوس، به عمق فاصله های به مرگ آکنده، سقوط پای پیاده به سمت کوهستان، سقوط عاطفه در مرزهای بازنده، دو بال سوخته سهم کمی است از دنیا، پرنده های مهاجر بدون پرونده، پرنده های مهاجر به سمت هیچ کجا، پرنده های گم هر کجا پراکنده که کوله پشتی سنگینشان پر از درد است که کوله پشتیشان بی بهار و بی خنده. وطن گذشته غمگین بی سرانجامی است. وطن گذشته غمگین بی سرانجامی است. وطن سقوط غم انگیز یک پناهنده.
The refugee. The loss of a person's worth, his future lost in those seas, the loss of the boat of a child of refugees, the loss of a doll's hand in the depths of the ocean, in the depths of its death-filled profundities, the loss of a step on the way to the mountains, the luckless at the borders, the loss of all kindnesses. Two burned wings are little enough from the world to have, migratory birds with no visas overseas. Migratory birds on the way to nowhere, birds scattered and lost in nowhere's immensities. Their backpacks are empty of spring and of laughter. Their backpacks are heavy with pain, uneasy anxieties. Homeland is a sad past with no end. Homeland, the heartbreaking loss of the refugees.